The night before her sister's wedding, Anna Carter sat at the family table and felt her world break apart. Her father, Robert, stared at her with cold eyes and said, "The best wedding gift you can give your sister is to disappear from this family forever." The words struck Anna like ice water poured over her head. She had spent $15,000 of her savings on this wedding. She had given up a chef's job in Chicago that offered $75,000 a year just to stay in Austin and save the family restaurant. Trembling, she whispered, "Disappear? Dad, after everything I've done?" Her mother, Martha, looked down at her plate, twisting her napkin, unable to meet her daughter's eyes. Anna turned toward her sister, Lena, who was scrolling on her phone without a glance in her direction. "Lena, say something," Anna begged. Lena didn't. Evan, Lena's fiancé, only shifted uncomfortably in his chair, staring at the window as if wishing he could escape. Anna's heart pounded. Childhood memories of this house filled her mind, but for the first time, it no longer felt like home. It had begun quietly over lunch that afternoon. The air was tense, filled with the clinking of silverware. "So," Martha asked, forcing a smile, "is everything ready for tomorrow?" Anna sat straighter, trying to sound confident. "Yes. The florist arrives at 8. The band finished their sound check. The venue confirmed the layout. The menus are printed." Robert cleared his throat. "What's the menu again?" Anna replied carefully. "Cajun shrimp and squash soup for appetizers. Beef Wellington and salmon for the mains. Dessert is a 3-tier vanilla and raspberry cake, just like Lena wanted." She smiled at her sister, but Lena never looked up. The silence was so heavy Anna's hands shook slightly as she picked up her glass of water. Still, she reminded herself, it's all under control. Everything is ready. But then Lena finally raised her head. "Anna, look at this." She shoved her phone across the table. On the screen were photos from her friend's wedding. Wagyu beef, fresh oysters, imported orchids, and a famous DJ. Lena's voice rose. "If we keep your menu, my wedding will look basic compared to hers." Anna clenched her jaw. "Lena, we finalized everything 3 weeks ago. The contracts are signed. The deposits are paid." Lena frowned. "Then cancel them. I want perfect." Martha put her hand softly on Anna's arm. "Anna, maybe we can adjust a little. It's her special day." Anna pulled out her phone calculator. "Switching to Wagyu for 150 guests is $4,000. Oysters $2,000. Changing champagne like you said yesterday another $2,500. That's $8,500 extra." She set the phone down. "That's not possible." Lena shoved her chair back angrily. "So you're saying my wedding can't be perfect?" Evan reached for her hand. "Lena, we agreed on the budget." But Lena snapped, "I don't care about the budget." Robert slammed his fork onto his plate, the noise echoing. "How much money is left?" Anna's stomach dropped. She whispered, "Nothing. I already added $3,000 of my own savings to cover the costs." Silence spread like a shadow. Robert's face hardened. "You know this wedding matters. My business partners will be there. Lena's colleagues will be there. And this is what you bring." Anna's eyes stung. "Dad, I stretched every dollar. I got discounts. I even baked desserts myself." Robert scoffed. The Morellis had a 4 seasons wedding with a Michelin chef. Their son owns a law firm. Their daughter is a surgeon. Meanwhile, my daughter can't even organize her sister's wedding. Anna's throat tightened. She looked at her hands, scarred from years in kitchens. "I gave up Chicago to save your restaurant," she whispered. 6 months of 16-hour days. And then you handed the management to Lena, who's never run a kitchen. Lena crossed her arms. "I have a law degree. You just cook." The words "just cook" tore through Anna's chest. She slammed her hand against the table. "I rebuilt that place. I paid for this wedding. And somehow I'm still not enough." Robert shoved his chair back, his face red. "Enough. You always do things halfway. You left culinary school. You skipped Paris. And now you can't even give your sister a proper wedding." Anna stood, tears stinging but voice sharp. "What has this family ever done for me? You took the restaurant after I saved it. You never came to my tastings. You drained my savings for this wedding. And now you tell me to disappear." Lena's sobs filled the room. Evan bowed his head. Martha covered her mouth with a trembling napkin. And then Robert said the words that shattered everything. The best wedding gift you can give your sister is to disappear from this family forever. The silence that followed was unbearable. No one defended her. No one said, "That's wrong." Anna's keys trembled in her hand as she grabbed them. "Understood," she whispered. She opened the door, stepped into the warm October night and let it close behind her. 32 years of trying to belong ended with a single click of the latch. Anna drove back to her apartment in silence, the streetlights flashing like sharp reminders of every word spoken. Her chest burned as if her father's sentence had carved itself inside her ribs. She parked, sat in the car for several minutes and finally whispered to herself, "Disappear, maybe that's the only gift I have left." Inside her small apartment she pulled off her shoes and dropped onto the couch. The room was quiet except for the ticking clock on the wall. She thought about October 2 years earlier. The night chef Thomas in Chicago had offered her the head chef position. His words had been full of pride. "Anna, this is your moment." That memory hurt now because she had given it up for the people who just told her she wasn't good enough. Her mind replayed that night in Chicago. She had stood in Chef Thomas's office, the contract on the desk. The salary was more than she had ever dreamed of, plus menu freedom and a chance to build her own team. Then her phone had buzzed with a late call from her mother. "Anna, the restaurant is going under. We owe $45,000. Your father won't admit it, but we may lose everything." Her stomach had dropped. She remembered asking, "What about Lena?" And her mother's tired voice had whispered, "She says she can't help. Too busy." Anna had promised, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll come home." And just like that she traded Chicago for Austin, dreams for duty. Back then her best friend Daniel had warned her. "Anna, you always put family before yourself. Don't let them bleed you dry." She had laughed it off, convinced she was doing the right thing. But now, sitting in her apartment with her father's cruel words echoing, she knew Daniel had been right all along. She thought of the 6 months she spent rebuilding Reynolds' table. The new menu, the long hours, the endless nights of chopping, cooking and negotiating with suppliers. She had worked until her hands blistered. And when the restaurant finally came back to life, her parents handed the keys to Lena. "No thanks. No credit. Just a pat on the shoulder and a hollow, 'You're still our chef.'" Anna clenched her fists. "I was never family. I was free labor." Her memories slid to last month, the dinner where her parents had announced Lena's wedding date. The aroma of her favorite beef ribs had filled the air, a sure sign her mother wanted something. And then Martha had smiled sweetly and said, "Anna, with your culinary skills, you're the perfect person to organize the wedding." Anna had swallowed her suspicion and asked, "What's the budget?" Robert had dodged with vague words, "We just want something memorable." But Lena, eyes glowing, had said firmly, "At least 150 guests. Barton Creek Resort." Barton Creek. One of the most expensive venues in Austin. Anna remembered staring at them in disbelief. "That's at least $50,000. What can you actually contribute?" Her mother's answer still echoed, "We can only give $15,000. Anna had sat there stunned. "So where's the other half supposed to come from?" Lena just smiled and twirled her wine glass. "Well, you'll figure it out. You're good at that." Robert's eyes had locked on hers. "This is your responsibility to your sister. Can you handle it?" Trapped between duty and shame, Anna had whispered, "Yes. I'll cover it. I'll pull $15,000 from my savings." She remembered driving home that night, the weight of the decision pressing down on her chest. Daniel had called, and when she explained, his voice had grown sharp. "They're using you again, Anna. Walk away." But she hadn't. Instead, she promised herself that this time her sacrifice would finally earn their respect. He was wrong. The weeks that followed had been a blur of exhaustion. Mornings at the restaurant, afternoons with vendors, nights spent hunched over lists and contracts. Lena's calls came daily, each one more demanding than the last. "Natalia had orchids from Thailand, I want those too." "Change the cake design, it looks cheap." "Switch the champagne, it's not fancy enough." Each time Anna tried to explain the cost, Robert's cold voice cut her down. "Don't ruin your sister's day." By the second week, Anna had memorized those words. He felt like a servant, not a sister. 2 weeks before the wedding, Lena added 30 guests without telling her. Anna had stared at the guest list in disbelief. "Lena, this changes everything. Seating, food, budget. Why didn't you ask me?" Lena's breezy reply made her want to scream. Oh, I forgot. Anyway, they're coming. Anna worked through the night, reprinting seating charts, adjusting food orders, begging vendors for last-minute accommodations. She told herself, just get through this. One more push. But as she sat in her dark apartment at 2 a.m., rubbing her temples, she realized she hadn't slept properly in weeks. Her body felt like it was shutting down, but still no one in her family said thank you. 2 days before the wedding, Anna double-checked every contract. Despite the chaos, she had done it. The wedding was ready. She drove to her parents' house for a final lunch, expecting, maybe hoping, for a little recognition. Instead, she got silence. No one asked about her health. No one thanked her for saving them thousands of dollars. The lunch ended with her father's cold comparison to the Morelli family, and Lena demanding Wagyu beef at the last minute. That was when Robert had exploded, accusing Anna of being a failure, of always coming up short. The words sliced into her chest like knives. Anna had defended herself, raising her voice for once. But the more she spoke, the angrier Robert became. And then came the sentence that ended everything. The best wedding gift you can give is to disappear forever. Walking out of the family house, Anna felt her legs trembling but her back straight. The October sky stretched wide, and for the first time in years she thought, maybe I don't belong here at all. She drove home, her hands shaking on the steering wheel. When she entered her apartment, the anger finally poured out. She slammed the fridge door, opened a beer, and sat in the dim light of her living room. She stared at the wall and thought, if they want me gone, then maybe I'll really give them what they asked for. A disappearance they'll never forget. Her heart beat faster as the thought grew. For once, she wouldn't sacrifice herself to make them comfortable. For once, she would choose herself. She grabbed her folder of wedding contracts and spread them across the coffee table. Each one carried her name, her money, her signature. She stared at them with burning eyes. If disappearing is the gift, she whispered, then I'll disappear in a way they'll never erase. With sudden resolve, she picked up her phone and dialed Caleb, the venue coordinator. When he answered cheerfully, she cut him off. Cancel the Reynolds-Newman wedding. There was a shocked pause. Cancel? But everything is ready. You'll lose all your deposits. Anna's voice came out calm, almost frighteningly steady. I know. All the deposits came from me. I accept the loss. Cancel everything. Caleb stammered, but she didn't give him space. One by one she began calling the florist, the caterer, the band, the cake company. With each cancellation, a strange weight lifted from her chest. By the time the last call ended, the $30,000 wedding had vanished, just like her place in the family. By the time the clock hit 4 p.m., every vendor had canceled. No flowers, no food, no music, no photographer. Anna sat back on the couch, exhausted but strangely free. Her phone buzzed again and again, calls from her parents, texts from Lena. She ignored them all. Instead she called Daniel. I canceled the wedding, she confessed. On the other end, Daniel's voice was stunned. Anna, that's huge. They'll hate you for it. Anna closed her eyes and replied quietly, they already hate me. They just kept me around because I was useful. Daniel hesitated, then asked, so what's next? Anna didn't have to think long. I'm leaving. For good. I booked a one-way ticket to Portland. You always said I'd love it there. Daniel exhaled, half a sigh, half relief. You finally chose yourself. Anna packed a small suitcase that night, just clothes, her knives, and her recipe notebook. When her phone buzzed again, she turned the ringer off and shoved it in a drawer. She wasn't going to listen to their pleas or insults. For once, her life belonged to her. The next morning, while her parents' and sisters' guests arrived to an empty venue in Austin, Anna boarded a bus heading northwest. She sat by the window watching Texas fade behind her. By 10 a.m. her phone had 30 missed calls, 15 voicemails, dozens of texts. She checked one voicemail from her father, Robert. His voice shook with rage. Anna, what have you done? The venue says the wedding's canceled. Call me back immediately. She deleted it without replying. She pictured the chaos. Lena in tears, Robert scrambling, Martha begging local restaurants for food. And for the first time, Anna didn't feel guilty. She felt free. As the bus crossed into Oklahoma, Anna scrolled through messages. One from a family friend confirmed what she imagined. Guests whispering, some leaving early, others posting photos of the empty venue on social media. Lena's furious voice message came last. You've ruined my life, Anna. You'll pay for this. Anna chuckled bitterly and sent one short reply to everyone, good luck with the next wedding. Then she turned off her phone and stared out at the endless highway. For the first time in years her shoulders felt light. 3 days later, Anna arrived in Portland with 2 suitcases, $15,000 left in her bank account, and no plan except to never go back to Austin. The city air was cool, damp with drizzle, so different from the heavy Texas heat. She rented a small studio in the Pearl District and promised herself, this time I start over for me. On her first morning she wandered the streets and stopped at a small bakery called Baker's Haven. The smell of fresh croissants pulled her inside. Behind the counter was Maggie Winters, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and flour on her apron. New in Portland? Maggie asked warmly. Anna nodded. Just got here yesterday. She bought a croissant and coffee, then casually commented, the butter layers are even and the coffee beans were roasted just right, maybe 400 degrees 12 minutes? Maggie raised an eyebrow. You're a chef, aren't you? Anna laughed softly. I am. I left Austin for a fresh start. Maggie studied her a moment, then smiled. Sometimes that's all we need. That small exchange marked the beginning of something Anna didn't yet understand. A second chance. In the months that followed, Baker's Haven became Anna's safe haven. Maggie introduced her to other chefs and suppliers. She soon found work at Roots, a respected local restaurant, but she had to start at the bottom. Prepping vegetables, scrubbing pans, making sauces. It was humbling, but Anna accepted it. I'll prove myself again, she told Maggie one morning over coffee. Maggie squeezed her hand. You already have. You just don't see it yet. One busy Friday the grill chef at Roots got sick and left mid-shift. Orders piled up. Chaos spread in the kitchen. Chef Wilson, the head chef, called out desperately, who can handle the grill station? Without hesitation Anna stepped forward. I can, chef. His eyes narrowed with doubt, but he nodded. For the next 2 hours Anna worked like fire. Every steak perfect, every plate flawless. When a vegetarian order came in she improvised, creating a dish of roasted vegetables with cider apple glaze. That dish landed in front of Margaret, a Portland Weekly food critic, who had come in quietly that night. After tasting she demanded to know the chef's name. 2 days later an article appeared, A Hidden Gem at Roots, a fresh culinary voice in Portland. Chef Wilson called Anna into his office and with a rare smile said, it's time you had a proper position. Within a week she was promoted to sous chef, her pay rising, her confidence returning. For the first time since Chicago she felt like herself again. By the end of the year Anna had a network of local farmers, fishmongers and spice suppliers, people she trusted. Her tiny studio became a laboratory for new recipes. On the wall hung a sketch for a restaurant she dreamed of opening, called Rebirth. This time it'll be mine, she whispered as she scribbled ideas late into the night. Maggie encouraged her, saying, you were meant to do this, Anna. Austin was holding you back. Portland is where you'll rise. But life has a way of circling back. One November afternoon, Anna received a voicemail from an unfamiliar number. She pressed play and her father's weakened voice filled the room. Anna's dad. I'm at St. David's Hospital. Stage 3 pancreatic cancer. They say I might have 6 months. Please. Her hands trembled. Maggie, watching her pale face, asked softly, that's your father, isn't it? Anna nodded silently. Then another message came, this time from her mother, voice breaking. Anna, I know we hurt you, but your father doesn't have much time. Please just come once. 4 days Anna wrestled with the decision. The memory of her father's words, disappear forever, still burned. Yet guilt gnawed at her. He was still her father. Finally she booked a flight to Austin, whispering to herself, I'll go. But I won't stay. She packed lightly, slipping her Rebirth sketchbook into her bag, a reminder that her life was now her own. David's Hospital, the smell of disinfectant filled the air as Anna walked down the long white corridor. Her mother waited outside the room, looking older, thinner, her hair now completely gray. You came, Martha whispered, hugging her tightly. Inside, Robert lay frail, his skin yellowed, hair thinning. He looked up weakly and asked about Portland weather as though they were strangers. Anna told him about her work at Roots, about her plans. For the first time she saw pride in his eyes. I'm proud of you, he whispered, voice trembling. They didn't fully reconcile. Too much damage had been done, but there was an understanding. Before she left, Robert handed her a small velvet box. Inside was her grandfather's gold watch, engraved with the words 40 years faithful service, 1955. It's yours, Robert said, his voice cracking. Whether you forgive me or not. Anna slipped it into her pocket. For once she didn't feel anger. She felt acceptance, not of him but of herself. 2 days later she returned to Portland without visiting the family house. 4 months later Robert passed away. Anna attended the funeral, her emotions complicated. Lena glared, offering only a curt nod. Martha hovered at a distance, ashamed. Anna stayed polite but distant. When the funeral ended she flew back to Portland, back to the life she had built with her own hands. 1 year after leaving Austin, Anna stood inside Rebirth, her dream now real. Exposed brick walls glowed under warm lights. Every table was filled. Customers laughed and ate dishes she had created. Maggie smiled at her from the counter, proud like family should have been. Daniel visited often, teasing, "Told you Portland was the place for you." Anna adjusted the grandfather's watch on her wrist and smiled. The watch ticked steadily, a reminder of time lost, but also of time she had finally claimed for herself. Anna's story ended not in bitterness but in freedom. She had given everything to a family that never valued her. And when they demanded her disappearance she gave them exactly that, on her own terms. What once felt like a curse had become her liberation. The best wedding gift she ever gave her sister was not her absence, but her own rebirth. She had discovered that sometimes you have to lose a family to find yourself. And sometimes, the cruelest words spoken to you become the very key that sets you free. Moral lesson. Family is not always defined by blood, but by those who respect, value and support you. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is survival. When others try to break you, you can turn their cruelty into the beginning of your freedom. Thanks you for watching, and please remember to tell us where you are watching from today. Hit the like button, comment and subscribe to this channel for more of this.